Most people, when they think of Hawaii, they picture paradise. Postcards of diamond white sands, turquoise water, the scent of plumeria on the breeze. I grew up there on Oahu, in a neighborhood called Kaimuki. And for me, paradise had a dark side. It had a secret. My childhood home wasn't on a postcard. It was an old house on 12th Avenue. From the outside, it was painfully ordinary. A simple wooden structure, probably built in the late 40s. But inside was different. Inside, the house was alive. It was watching. And it remembered things that should have long been forgotten. They call it the House of Faces now, a local legend told in hushed tones. But for my family, for me, it wasn't a legend. It was our reality. You can paint over a stain, you can patch a crack in the wall. But how do you erase a memory that's still living, breathing, and staring back at you from the plaster? This isn't just a ghost story. This is a warning about a place that never lets you go. We moved in during the summer of '78. I was 10. The house had a specific smell, not mold or decay, but something else. The smell of old paper, dry plaster, and something faintly metallic. The air always felt heavy, static, like the moment before a lightning strike. My parents, ever practical, blamed the humidity. I wasn't so sure. The first few weeks were deceptively quiet. The oddities started small, easy to dismiss. The sound of footsteps in the hallway when everyone was in the living room. A bedroom door creaking open on its own. My mom's sewing kit, which she always left on the dining table, will be found on the floor in the morning. Old house sounds, my dad would say with a shrug. The foundation is settling, but I knew deep down it wasn't the house that was settling. Something in the house was getting settled. It was getting comfortable. The first time I saw one, I'll never forget it. It was a Tuesday night. I got up to get a glass of water. The hallway was dark, lit only by the faint moonlight coming through a high window. As I walked, my eyes traced the patterns on the old, textured wall. And then I saw it. For a split second. It was faint, like a pencil sketch that had been almost entirely erased. But it was undeniably a face. A man's face gaunt, with hollow eyes and a mouth slightly agape, as if in silent surprise. It wasn't on the wall. It was in the wall. Part of it. I blinked, and it was gone. I stood there, my heart hammering against my ribs. My 10-year-old mind tried to rationalize it. Pareidolia. That's the word for it, right? Seeing faces in random patterns. Trick of the light. I forced myself to believe it. But the feeling of being watched, a cold prickle on the back of my neck, didn't go away. A month later, my younger sister, Maya, started having nightmares. She'd wake up screaming, pointing at her bedroom ceiling, crying about the sad people in the sky. My parents brought in a nightlight. It didn't help. One night, I went into her room to calm her down. As she sobbed into my shoulder, my eyes drifted up to the ceiling she was so afraid of. And under the soft glow of the nightlight, I saw them. Not one, but 3, maybe 4 faces swirling slowly, fading in and out of the white paint. They were distorted, their features twisted in agony or sorrow. They were like reflections in murky water. That's when my fear turned into a quiet, chilling certainty. We were not alone. The poltergeist activity grew bolder. It was no longer just sounds. One evening, we were all at the dinner table when a glass of water, sitting untouched in the center, slowly slid 2 inches to the right. We all saw it. A dead silence fell over the room. There was no vibration, no slant in the table. It just moved. My dad, a man who could fix anything, had no explanation. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He tried to hide it, clearing his throat and changing the subject, but we all felt it. The house had just shown its hand. I became obsessed. I started spending hours just staring at the walls, the ceilings. It became a grim hobby. The faces were everywhere once you knew what to look for. They were most active in the hallway and the bedrooms. Faint, fleeting, almost always gone the moment you tried to focus on them. Some looked peaceful, others were in torment. I felt like I was living inside a gallery of trapped souls. It was during a talk story session with some local kids that I first heard the rumors. The land itself, they said, was old, sacred. There were Heiau ancient temples all over the Kaimuki Hills. They said powerful mana, spiritual energy, resided there. They spoke of a traumatic event, a battle or a tragedy that happened on that very spot, long before any house was built. The faces, they whispered, were the spiritual residue, the echoes of that pain, forever imprinted on the location. My parents tried to fight it. They repainted my sister's room, bright, cheerful yellow. For a week, it was fine. Then, one afternoon, Maya came running out, pale and shaking. On the fresh yellow paint, a dark grayish face was slowly forming, clearer than any we'd seen before. It was like a bruise spreading from beneath the skin of the wall. That night, my dad took a scraper and a bucket of plaster and covered the spot himself, his jaw set in angry defiance. It didn't matter. A month later, a face appeared in a different spot. The house wouldn't be silenced. It wouldn't be covered up. It wanted to be seen. The breaking point came during a winter storm. My parents had to go out, an emergency with a relative. Maya was at a friend's house. I was 15, and for the first time, I was left completely alone in that house at night during a storm. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows like a caged beast. The power flickered, then died completely. I was plunged into absolute darkness, broken only by the flash of lightning. I lit a candle and sat in the living room trying to read, but the sound of the house were amplified by the storm. Every creak, every groan of the wood felt like a footstep. The feeling of being watched was suffocating. I decided to go to my room to hide under the covers like a little kid. I walked down the hallway, candle flame dancing wildly, casting long, distorted shadows. With every flash of lightning that illuminated the corridor, the walls came alive. It wasn't just faint sketches anymore. Dozens of faces, a whole crowd of them, were there. They were clear, detailed, writhing in a plaster. Anguish, terror, rage, every negative emotion you can imagine was etched onto their features. It felt like the walls themselves were screaming. I ran into my room and slammed the door shut, my back pressed against it, breathing heavily. My candle cast a pool of trembling light. I scanned my own walls. They were clear. For a moment, I felt a wave of relief. And then I saw it. To the right of my bed. Not a faint image. Not a fleeting glimpse. A single face was emerging from the wall with horrifying clarity. It was a woman. Her hair was wild. Her skin looked like cracked porcelain. Her eyes were wide and dark, and they were fixed directly on me. Unlike the others, this one wasn't just an echo. This one was aware. As I stared, frozen in pure terror, its expression changed. The mouth, which had been a thin line, slowly and possibly, began to curve upwards into a grotesque, malicious smile. The candle flame sputtered and died, plunging me into total darkness. The only thing I could hear was the storm and the sound of my own heart about to explode in my chest. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The sound was trapped in my throat. I knew in that moment that this thing, this house, it wasn't just haunted. It was intelligent. And it was enjoying my fear. We moved out 6 months later. We couldn't sell a house. We just left. Broke the lease, forfeited the deposit. My parents never spoke of it again. We never discussed what we saw, what we felt. It was a wound too deep to touch. We pretended it never happened. But I remember. I'm a grown man now, with a family of my own, living thousands of miles away from that island. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, I'll catch myself staring at a blank wall. My heart will start to race, and I'll see the faint outline of a pattern in the paint. And I have to remind myself to breathe. The house on 12th Avenue is still there. Other families have lived in it. The stories, the whispers, they continue. The faces are still there, waiting in the plaster, waiting for someone to look close enough. Sometimes I wonder if the house remembers me, and I wonder what face it would show me if I ever dared to go back. What about you? Have you ever seen something you can't explain in the corner of your eye? Let me know your story in the comments below. And if you want to hear more unexplained tales, don't forget to subscribe. Stay safe